Ukraine currently holds the title of poorest country in Europe, with average salaries of just €300 a month, and most analysts would agree that that is mainly due to the rampant corruption that is holding back the country's economic progress. Growth is standing at just 3.5%. It needs to be much faster than that, considering the heavy recessions that Ukraine has endured in recent years. And yet nobody's been punished for corruption. No high-level officials have been put in jail, despite long investigations and a lot of proof, what seemed to be proof anyway, being presented in the media. The justice system has proved incapable of really acting against high-ranking corrupt officials. And the same is true for the killings that happened on Maidan during the protests. No one has been punished for that either, coupled with the ongoing war in the east of the country, which affects families, obviously, all across Ukraine. That creates a lot of disappointment, a lot of anger, a lot of dissatisfaction. At the same time, though, you do meet Ukrainians who are determined to be more optimistic, particularly representatives of civil society who see their country as engaged in a long and difficult struggle to break free from the domination both of Russia and from homegrown corrupt oligarchs. And they understand that this is going to be very long and difficult, and they're keen to stress that despite the attitude of the current ruling class, which seems to be more resistant to reforms really than enthusiastic about carrying them through, there has been progress made, perhaps not so much in punishing people for corruption, but for closing the windows, closing the opportunities for embezzlement.
Now, Gulliver, both parliamentary and presidential elections are to be held this year in Ukraine. What might that change?
Well, there are 44 candidates in the presidential race, and I think it's fair to say not a single one of them is popular. In opinion polls, the person in the lead is Volodymyr Zelensky, who is not even a politician. He plays a fictional president in a comedy TV show, so that perhaps tells you something about the level of Ukrainians' dissatisfaction with their ruling class. But even he is polling around 20%, sometimes a bit lower than that. It's really not clear at all who will get into the second round. Petro Poroshenko, the current president, is in the running for re-election. Some people are looking to him as a least worst option because either Zelensky or Yulia Tymoshenko, the former prime minister, are regarded as being populistic, possibly quite dangerous. People aren't really prepared to trust them, or a lot of Ukrainians anyway aren't really prepared to trust them with the helms of the country. There are at least 3 other candidates who've got a realistic chance of getting into the second round. So this election, this presidential election, is completely unpredictable. And in a way, you could interpret that as a victory for Maidan, because it does show that instead of going down the route of sort of brutal authoritarianism, which was what Ukraine looked like turning into under Viktor Yanukovych, the country still is a flawed but nevertheless functioning and pluralistic democracy.